This software is called Blender. It's an open source 3D software. It does animations, rigging, modeling, UV unwrapping. There's like a million things you can do within this platform of Blender. But one of the cool tools that it has in there is a font editor that can make 3D font. So for my book, I do want a 3D font. So the first thing I'm going to do is delete this little box right in the middle. You do that by hitting the delete button. That'll take it right out. You can hit the middle mouse button to move left and right. And there's a few things within the scene that you should know about. There's a light up here that lights the scene. You have your camera right here. But as long as you understand a few of the buttons here, that's fine. So the first thing you're going to want to do is hit Shift A. And Shift A will bring up the menu, and we want to add a text. All right, now if you hit 0 on your number pad, it brings you to the camera. You can hit 1 to bring you straight on it with a flat view with it, but we want to go to 7. So if you hit 7, it brings up the text. The next thing you want to do is hit Tab, and this brings you into the edit mode. So what we want to do is we want to put the title of the book here. And our title of the book is Write a Book, Write and Publish. And you can scroll out with the middle mouse wheel. Write and publish a book. Write and publish a book this weekend. You can hit enter. All right. So that's a good way to get started with this. Now, a few things with Blender. First of all, when you are working with it, you have to realize that you can't manipulate individual words at a time. You're going to have to do the whole object. So if you wanted to make certain things smaller, like this and, you would want to remove that and do it differently. So for instance, like write, if I wanted to take just write, then I would want to make that as its own individual word. So let's start with just write. So we're going to highlight this, and then we go down to our tools. Within text, you can do a few things. Okay, so you have your relationships, collections, instances, line art. There's quite a few different settings you can have in here, but if you find the object data properties, this is more what you're looking for. So you can change how it all goes together. If you want the font to be left, centered, in the middle, spacing. So right here, there are different font types. But if you wanted to change it, you can type in other types of fonts. You want to open it up, and here's the different font types that you can get to. So generally, when you have something writing, we want more of a script font, something that looks more cursive. But you want it to still be readable. You don't want it to be something that people can't read. So as we go through here, we can look. This one looks pretty interesting as a script. So if we put this in, you can see how it's kind of cursive looking. Let's try this one for now. Let's open the font. You see it's a little smaller than what it used to be. So what we want to do is start with the W. And then with this W, we can actually cause the geometry. We can change the geometry of the object. So you can see this. If we wanted to make it pop out a little bit, you can add in some depth. And it's kind of fun when you start working with the bevel. You can offset it as well. Generally, the offset, you can see what happens when you move it. But we also like to extrude it, and that gives it the 3D look. And you can do that just by right-clicking on it. See? You didn't realize that it was up so big. But you can bring it on down. All right, there we go. So if we hit right in there, we can look at that and see it. Now it's important that we remember where we set this extrude if we're going to extrude any other words like that. So it gives us a nice blend to it. The next thing we want to do is add a material here to the color. So if you do new, you can change the base color to whatever you'd like it to be. So depending on the picture that we have, we're going to want to pull up the color for our word text. If we go back to the last tutorial, I talked a little bit about GIMP. If we go back to the picture, we can take this same picture that we have here, and we can use this to get our color palette, which would then determine what type of color we want for our word text. So let's go back online here. So we're going to go to the internet. I'm pulling over the screen right now. Okay, so we're going to go to Canva. So type in Canva color palette. So if you click right there, you can see here's where you can upload an image, and we want to upload that download image, which would be this one. So right there's the cowboy, gold sand, deluge, and Tuscany. Now if you look right here, you can actually see the color codes. These are very helpful because you can put those right into Blender. So I'm just going to pull this up off the screen so that we can see exactly what's going on here. All right, so we're going to pull Blender back up. Now, as far as our color goes, you click on this color, and we want to put in the hex key. So we're probably going to want the deluge or Tuscany color. The reason why is when we put the title, we're going to want it up here in this area. So it's going to have a little bit of a darker background, and we're going to want a lighter color. So maybe the gold sand would be better for this. So that E, I'm just going to copy this over. So again, right here we can go into the color, and we can type in the hex code and hit enter, and then it gives you that exact color. Okay. You can also click on the use nodes if you ever want to do any future changes with it within the node system that Blender has. That's Blender's such a huge tutorial that we're not going to do too much with it. So now we have that color, and we're going to go back out. Now we're going to add in another text. Now, if you press G, you can grab the text, and we're going to move that text over again. Now, if we put it right here, we can hit tab, go back in, and then we're going to finish writing this out. So write, but we have to have a complementary font to go along with it. So if we click another font type, we will go back in here and pull one out that we think looks good with this. We probably want more of a serif font for the lower letters here. So we're looking for a serif font. We could use the Castella Regular. You'll notice here all the letters are capital. And so when we think about writing, we want something more like handwritten when you think of write. So if we continue to scroll down, this one looks kind of handwritten and not quite as cursive-y, so it's a little easier to read. So how about we try that one? Freestyle script. Okay, let's open that font. And then if we grab it with, we hit out, we can grab this and move it over. Okay, then we can hit tab again. And as far as our color goes, we want to do a new color to this. Now we have an option here. We can put it as the same color as it was before. And then we have it assigned. Or we could just do white against that background. Now it looks like that white would cause some issues, so we're just going to leave it that way as we have it. The next thing we're going to do is make it pull out a little bit. So again, we want to add a little depth to the writing. Not much, but just a little. And we do want to offset it and extrude it just a hair. Okay, so if we hit tab, let's go back to the fonts here. For some reason, it doesn't look like it wants to take our font, so let's go and hit tab. We want to assign material to. And let's assign you. Okay, let's see if it's actually rendering like it should. So if we hit 7, Alt-Control-0 will move the camera so we can take pictures and use this. So if we hit F12, you can see there's the word right. And it's got a nice image to it with a glow. It looks really clean. So if we hit F11, we can go back out here. Okay, so right is now done. So if we hit R, not R, Control Z. If you just right click and drag over everything there, you can actually select the whole 3D block. If you hit G, you can grab it and pull it up and take the two together. And there you have it. Now we're going to go ahead and add another text file here. And if you just hit G and you press down on the middle mouse button, it'll lock to the different planes. It's important that you use that middle mouse button quite a bit to help lock it where it needs to be. Otherwise, this can get really messy really fast. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit 0 again to go into the camera. That way I can keep my view clean. So the next word is and. Because there's not a lot of space within the title, it's good to use special characters like the and sign. So if we do that, we want to assign this text again like we did with the last one. So let's go back to our text. Let's go ahead and pull up the text files that we had. And we went all the way down here and used kind of the handwritten look to it. Okay, I may have went too far. There it is, brush. That's the one we wanted to do. So you can see it's there. We can make the and sign a different color. We do have Tuscany. So I'm going to try this color with the Tuscany and see how it turns out. Let's go put a new material. We're going to assign it. And then right here, we're going to put in the hex, and we're going to paste that hex code that we pulled up from our other software. After that's done, we're going to want to extrude it again with the other settings. So under geometry, we're going to extrude it. And then as far as the bevel, we'll add a little bevel to it. All right. So that's good. Let's hit G to grab you. And then hit G while holding the middle mouse button, and that'll lock that right in where you want it. So again, G, and then we go up to go along the y-axis. And then we put it right next to the right. Now, if we really wanted to see how that looks, we can select everything. It wants to lock into the z-axis. And then we can hit F12 and just see how it looks. All right, so you can see the shadows there. Looks kind of fun. Okay, so now we're going to add another text. I'm going to bring it back over here. Center it within our camera. And then you right click to unlock it and set it. So we're going to write and publish. So the P is going to be like the W. So we're going to want the same material that's there. Now, instead of having to create a material every time, you can actually select right here, and we want material 01. And we're going to assign the P with that. And so you can see it already came up. Now we want to go back into our fonts. And within the fonts, we're going to select the same one that we did with the W. And we want something more cursive looking. That's fun. And if it matches, it'll be good. I feel like I keep missing it here. It needs to be further down. So as we go further down, we will find the best cursive one that we can. There we go. So if we hit write and publish, right here again, we want to go down to the text. We want to change the geometry. We want to add a little depth to it. And we also want to extrude it a little bit. So if we hit the middle mouse button, that'll get us outside of the camera. And if we hit tab, we can go ahead and grab this. But I'm not going to move it anywhere because we still need to add in the publish behind it. So we hit 0 again. Let's add in a new text by hitting Shift A. We're going to grab the text, bring it over. We're going to go inside the text by hitting Tab to get into edit mode, and then publish. That's all the same one we want to do. And again, these ones we can add the material number 2 because that's the same one as the other one. So we'll assign those. Then again, we're going to pull up the same font. That font is down right here. And we hit tab, we can grab that with a G. Oh, I think we grabbed the wrong font. That's a little too cursive-y than the other one. So let's go back and then find the right font here. You can always go back to the other font that was used because we wanted something a little more handwritten. There we go. So hit tab. I actually want to freestyle script. That's what we want. Okay. So go under F. Okay, here we go. So we have to get the B off of the P. But then right here, as far as the U goes, and the B, we need to add a little bit of a space between those. So you can do that by doing the alignment and spacing. So the character space right here, we don't want to do all of them. So there's a little trick here that you can do with Blender. If you hold down Alt and right and left button, Shift Alt, okay. You can manipulate it. So what we want to do is we want to select everything here. And then we want to add in our tools. Again, we want to add some depth. We don't want to go too much, just 1 or 2 clicks. 1 will be fine, and then we want to extrude this. And then we have the whole word again. Then you go out of tab. And then we can hit G to grab that. Okay. So it doesn't quite fit within the camera. We can always grab the camera by clicking on the edge and then hitting G and moving it backwards. That'll zoom out. Okay, and then we need to fix some of the spacing here in the alignment. So we want to line everything up. You can make certain characters larger if you want. So again, the P we can make a little bigger. And we can make the and a little smaller. Then if we do an F12, that'll show us what it looks like. Write and publish a book this weekend. Okay, hit F11 to get out of the render screen there. Oop. Hit tab if you're ever in writing view to get out of tab. Okay, so we're going to select all of the 3D image again and move it straight up. We don't want to select the camera. So we hit G to grab it, we move it straight up. Okay. If we hit 0, we'll go Shift A, we're going to add another text. Then we hit G to grab you, G to move it up. Oop. No, up, up, up. Come on, you. Move you over. Enter G to move you up. Okay. Write and publish. So we're just going to do A. And again, this color is going to be this one right here. And the font we're going to want to use is the same one as before. So that would be down at the F's. Freestyle. And again, we want to protrude it. And sometimes it doesn't show there. If you click out and come back in, there's the geometry. So we want to offset it by 1. And we want to add a bezel. Sorry, add a bezel by 1. Then offset it by about, oops, that's too much. Not offset, extrude. By about 9. Okay. There's the A. Okay, let's hit tab. And then let's hit G to grab you and move you up. Okay, so let's go add text. Let's call you book. And then we'll move this into, again, the same font. The B, we're going to actually do the B this time, kind of like the others. So let's move this over. And then as far as the font goes, we're going to use the same font. That is same cursive one that we had before. Oh, I passed it up again. Here we go. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing. Add a little bit of a bevel. And then let's extrude it to about 0.2. And then we want to make sure it has the right color to it. So if you hit the little globe here, that's the color. Okay, another trick you can do so that everything's good, you can just hit Shift D and you can select the font. And then that will give you the exact same setup, and then you just move the font. You get the spacing just right. If we tab, we can go OK. And then hit 0 to get out, or let's select all these guys. Okay. And then if you hit F12, it'll render the image again. Okay. Write and publish a book. So if we hit this, Shift D, tab, I'm selecting each of them so I can move them around a little better and just center this. Okay. Now the colors seem a little bland, so I'm going to change a little bit here. As far as the write, publish, like except for the capital letters, I'm going to have the capital letters take on a different look than the rest of the words. So maybe what I'll do is I'll switch the reds coloring with the capital coloring. So let's hit F11. Let's try that out and see if it works a little better. So if we hit, we just need to select one of these with the base color. And then we can actually change that. And then if we select this one, we can change that color again over to the gold sand. Okay. Another fun thing we can do is let's change some of the specular and metallic settings on some of these to make them seem and render a little more shiny. Let's use the nodes with this one. So again, we want to make it more shiny, more metallic. So there's a lot you can do with this. Okay, it looks like it changed my color back. Okay, let's... Okay, so now if we write and publish a book this weekend. So now that we're done with this, we can actually save this image. And that will be the book title. The way you save it, let me hurry and just show you how to save it. You render it, and then you go Image, Save As, Book Title. write and publish a book this weekend. Then you save the image. We're going to save it right in our documents. All right, that's how you get a title made.